How should the church, as the community of God's people, think about their work, the thing that they spend that most people spend the majority of their waking hours doing? I so want our churches to spend the majority of their time on the things that the men and women they serve spend the majority of their lives on. My experience has been our churches tend to spend a lot of time focusing on a very narrow area of our people's lives. What happens in our devotional life, or what happens in our worship, takes place an hour or two a week. Most people spend between 40 to 60 hours a week in the workplace. And it shouldn't be a big surprise that the workplace is the primary crucible in which God shapes us spiritually. It's the primary arena in which we have the opportunity to love our neighbors. And the workplace reflects the area that God, I think, has designed sort of fundamentally for people to contribute to the flourishing of their communities and the flourishing of their own families. And the reason our work matters is ultimately because of what Paul said in Colossians 3, when he's speaking to household servants who did arguably the most mind-numbing grunt work you can imagine in the first century. But he said to them, he said, "In whatever you do, do your work heartily as unto the Lord. For in whatever you do, it's the Lord Christ whom you are serving." And if that's true, I think Paul was right about that. If that's true, then the very work we do is kingdom work because it contributes to the flourishing of communities and individuals. And I sometimes think we have too narrow a view of what constitutes kingdom work and kingdom contribution. But if what Paul says is true in Colossians 3 and what's emphasized in Genesis 1 and 2 about being fruitful, and that's an economic term. We often put that together with be fruitful and multiply, referring to procreation, but those are actually two separate things. And to be fruitful means to be vocationally fruitful. And that's a mandate for all human beings. That is from creation forward. Now, the general instance of sin affected that, but I do think there's a difference between God cursing the ground and God cursing work. Those are two different things. God cursed the ground, making work more arduous, introducing ethical dilemmas, introducing people who are a pain in the rear end to work with. For all I know, maybe you're one of those people who's a pain to work with. It's possible for all of us. But it brings complicating factors into the world of work, but it doesn't erase the nobility of our work as done unto the Lord. So what I often ask men and women who are making a living in the marketplace, say, tell me about your ministry in the workplace. And typically they tell me all those things that they are doing when they are not doing their job. Like praying for coworkers, all good things, and sharing their faith with them, showing compassion to them. But it's very rare that somebody includes the actual work that they do as part of their ministry in the workplace. That's why we say that all believers, all followers of Jesus are in full-time ministry. They're in full-time service. And they enter it not at the time when they decide where they're going to get a paycheck from. They enter it at the time where they first come to faith. And nobody leaves full-time service. When you change jobs, you change arenas of service. And that's really what we mean by a vocation. A vocation is any particular arena of service to which we are called. We all have multiple vocations. I have a vocation as a professor, but also as a father and as a husband, as a neighbor, as a church member, and on and on. So I think how we view our work is crucial to, I think, living faithfully with Jesus. And for those of you who are watching this who are pastors or church leaders, to have our churches attend more to what the people we serve, what they do with the vast majority of their lives, I think would serve us well.